Nice to see all of you today. We're going to start like we normally do with our moment of checking in, 2 or 3 breaths. Letting yourself land if you're still getting your items. And just noticing what the quality and the messages are in your body and your breath. And a little bounce. And, the more you get to understand and feel the shake and the bounce, the more you can compare how it differs and changes for you. And if you're kind of new here, this is how we start every practice. And we like to think about moving the oscillation into every nook and cranny of your body. So there's a certain, pathway it goes when we're on 2 feet, we're vertical. It changes if we shift to one leg, it changes if we shift our orientation to gravity. And we could think slow and lazy. We could think a little higher frequency. Could be different for you each day. And I invite you to feel that it's not muscling, it's really elastic and kind of bouncing back while you're aware of your breath, while you're having a little bit of playfulness, curiosity. I know for me, I always try to get the bounce to my upper back, and it's a little bit of a game. It's a little bit tricky, and I find it's hard to get there, but sometimes when I find it, I could be there probably for 20 minutes and change my life. So you're free to explore. And at some point, and we're about 2/3 of the way there, at some point, let your arms come higher than your lungs. Still easy bouncing, getting the shoulder blades to move. You might experiment with facing different directions. Keep going, keep going. I think I might have to take this necklace off. It's getting in the mic. Where are your eyes? Get those wings free. And then last 10 moments, any places that don't feel satisfied yet. And we want to let it slow down gradually. Until you see what effect is there. Maybe a little buzz, a little more sensitivity, maybe tingling, or you can feel your heart beat or your breath. Okay, we're going to still stay in the shake land. If you just joined us, find a block. And in our theme this month of resilience, today we're going to talk about variety, but specifically addressing the patterns of modern life. So for sitting, we're going to stand on the block next to a wall. So not too close, and maybe like 20 inches away. And the leg that's closest to the wall is the one I'm going to stand up on. And the block gives us a little bit of a subconscious feeling of like, oh, I got to stand on something, not just fall into standing. There's a little bit of energy down. And then the wall is there just for a light touch. And we're going to shake our foot and our toes and really jiggle, wiggle, loose while you're standing tall on the other leg. And looking around, looking up rather than looking down. And then let that jiggle, no muscle effort, come into your ankle. Get a random, less is more, and then jiggle your calf muscle. And can you imagine all the tissue around the bones? And then can you jiggle inside of your knee? And the jiggle frequency can be very different for different body lengths and energy levels. And then let it jiggle into your thigh and hamstring. And again, you can kind of play with your verticality. And then we want to jiggle inside the hip. And we came up the leg so that we're not working it. Right? We want to see if we can really jiggle the key in the lock. Can you feel the vibrations inside, like in the center of this whole zone of your hip. While you're standing on the other leg nice and tall, last few moments. Shake that psoas free. And then step off. We'll change sides, just noticing the difference as you change. And then we'll stand for something. And just think of your toes and your foot. Really floppy. And then the ankle. And then your lower leg. Keep going. Make sure while you're standing, you're not just sinking into the other leg, other standing leg. Do all the muscles of your calf and then inside your knee joint. If it starts to feel like your muscles are gripping, use gravity, use a dropping. Use a little bit of changing direction. And then jiggle all the hamstrings and the quads. If your other leg is getting a little bit of a work, yes. And then inside your hip. Notice if it feels different than the other side. If it's your dominant side, might give you some interesting information. Right inside, right inside. As you lift your gaze. 3 more moments. And then come on off. Take a moment to just feel. I'm going to go back to the first leg and add something. We want to make sure we have room because we're going to swing our leg a little bit. So I'm actually going to move away from my precious colored glass collection over here. And we're going to stand on the same leg closer to the wall. And we're going to let this leg swing, but not because I'm working it, just because it's falling. And there's a rebound while I stand on the other leg nice and tall. And just take a moment to really feel the letting go from below your waist and the reaching up from above. So the swinging leg is on vacation. My spine is climbing. If it feels good, you can add your arm in the opposition, but don't think about it too hard. If it confuses your brain, don't worry about it. So this whole side is just letting go as my spine and my eyes take me up and up. And then let's let our arms swing up high and stay there and reach up towards the wall like a spiral staircase with your eyes, with your belly as your leg just falls and falls and falls. And then release and come on out. Other side. I'll talk about what's happening here a little bit on this side. Test your space before you stand up. So loose, falling. So our psoas is this muscle that connects the lower body to the upper body. It goes a couple inches down your inner thigh bone, up through the pelvis, along the lower back, connecting to your diaphragm. So we could say that our leg starts at our lungs. And really make sure that falls. Maybe add your arm. And what's happening when we keep our upright spine and let our leg go is we're giving it a break from supporting us. It is a support, but it gets a bit stuck, underused because of a lot of sitting in life. So we're giving it a little bit of its elasticity back, its length back. And then feel free to stay with that or take your arm up, and we're going to keep reaching. Now we're giving the upper fibers some more length to counteract slouching, sitting, getting the lower fibers a break from getting stuck short in sitting. Look up in the spiral staircase. Last 3, 2, 1, and come on out. And just take a moment. Maybe you like to stand, maybe you like to step a little bit. Notice if you feel any more length, space in that region, hopefully a little bit. And then we're going to take our block for some attention to our arms. I think we did this maybe a month ago. Not all of us were here then. Excuse me. Actually, let's try something walking it through. We'll take the block in a second. If we imagine we have something we can't spill on our hand, I'm going to reach up. I'm going to lean away and I'm going to let my legs adjust for that. So probably a little pivot and a little half squat. And I'm going to turn my hand in and my eyes down. And then I'm going to come back up. Let's just do that on the same side 2 more times. So I'm keeping my palm up, and in order to do that, I move my body out of the way. And if my body turns down, my hand internally rotates, turns in and up. And one more, see if you can feel this dialing into the joint. It shouldn't feel like it gets too creaky. The goal is to find the timing that feels the smoothest. Let's try the other side. So my palm is always going to be up towards the sky. And I get to push up, lean, let my legs adjust. I can use my elbow a little bit. As I turn my heart down, my hand turns in. And then I come back up. 2 more. Go slow enough to really feel what's happening and be able to make some choices. You can notice now my hand wasn't exactly vertical. For now, that counts. There's no block. I'll try to keep the palm up. My arm can move in space, but my palm is still as much as possible facing the sky. Okay, I'm going to do that with the block. Now, if you have a heavy block, it's still not that heavy. If you drop it, it's probably going to be fine. We can use our fingers on the side, but I don't want you to hold it so much that you could hold it upside down. You want to try to feel the pushing up, but our fingers can fine tune that. If you have a soft block, it's even less scary if it falls. But the weight is actually helpful to give the feedback into the torso for this dialing feeling. So let's try. We push up. It helps to look up at the block as you come on down. And I will say you could stop anywhere along this progression. So this could be enough to come up. That's a little bit of the spiral. Or at some point when we are turning the chest down, we can't keep looking up at the block. We turn the arm in and then let's come on up. Let's change sides. Push up, look up, lean down. And as we lean, we turn in. And as we turn the heart down, we turn in even more. Use your fingers for fine tuning and see if you can push into the block and feel the timing of your unwinding spiral. Okay. Try it again. I'll add on, but you don't have to add on. So we're going to come down. Maybe you go just this far, but it gets smoother and nicer every time. If we want to add on, we have to bend the arm and pass the block to the other hand somewhere around your pelvis. And then we come out like we've done before. Sound effect optional. And then we can go back the way we came. Take your time. Again, you can come in and return or pass behind your back and come out. Let's play with this like 10 more moments. I'm going to just peek at the screen and see if there's any tips I might be able to give. And yeah, feel free to make sure that your body is moving. That's part of the adaptability. It doesn't have to look like mine did at all. Our proportions, our flexibilities are different. I'm moving a lot. My feet are moving, my knees are moving. Good, halfway through our 10 moments if you're playing on one side. And even if it's not feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm getting it, what you are getting is out of the ruts. Probably, unless you do this every day. Out of the ruts, making more possible pathways for adapting to a environment that's always changing around us. Last pass. Yeah. Bend your elbow when you need to pass it. Beautiful. Woohoo! Use your eyes when you can. Let your legs bend. And when you feel like you've gotten that second direction or you've gotten both ways, we'll come on back to stand. Okay. Go ahead and set your block down, not on the floor, if it's possible. If you only have a floor, I'm jealous. I wish I only had a big space. Shake out your shoulders for a little bit. So we're just going to play a little game, kind of short and sweet. We're going to start to get into a little bit of squatting pattern, which is, again, one of the things to balance modern day. But we're going to do that by not thinking about, oh, here's the form, but thinking about going to pick up our block and put it down in different places. And I want us to pick it up first with our non-dominant hand, and then see if we can get out of the instinctual. Like for me, I'm right-handed, my instinctual would be to pick it up like that. I could go pick it up with my left hand. I could pick it up with my forearm. There are a limited range of ways to pick up. You know, we're not going to use our teeth or anything right now, but maybe it's just your non-dominant hand. But I want us to start putting it around different places. And some of us, it's not as easy maybe to come down to the ground all the time, but for others, it'll be fine to keep putting it down on the ground. So we're going to go pick up our block. You could keep it at a higher level. You could keep it on like chairs, or you could put it down. And like, how do I put it down? Can I get down there a little bit differently? I move myself into a different situation. Oh, I'm going to go get my block. I might even lift it up to the sky and go put it down somewhere else. Oh, I'm going to go get my block. See if every time you put it down and you pick it up, you kind of do a little something different. I'm doing a cross pattern. Okay. I'm going to go straight down like a deadlift. Oh. And have fun, like you're a kid trying to figure it out. So just listen to your body if you don't want to put it on the ground every time. And see if you can be aware of the whole of you the whole time. I just noticed I did the same thing 3 times, so I'm going to keep changing. It could be so slow. Are you breathing? We're like halfway through playing. So I hope this inspires you a couple more times, just through the rest of your day, to do things in your house, like just aware that maybe you could do them a little differently. Even the simple things like brushing your teeth with your other hand, which is extremely awkward, but so good for our neurogenesis and for our body to get out of ruts. So last 2 times picking up and putting it down. And then put it down on the floor on the lower setting. Let's just have a brief play with how different we could step onto it and off of it. So I could step up, come back the way I came. I could go forward. I could go out to the side. Don't do it this fast. I could go off to the side. I could lean into it. I could lean into it some different direction. I could move it with my foot. Let's just have a little bit of this playful variety of how to relate to the block from above, from our feet. I could step back onto it. I don't even have to go up onto it. I'm going to slow down just so you see it's possible. Go really slow. My foot can be in different angles. Maybe I could put both feet on the block. And then the last few, go slow enough that, yeah, you need to see where you're stepping, but once you step, can you look up and trust the floor? then the foot. So don't miss the block, but let's see if we can avoid looking down the whole time. If you've ever seen Monty Python, The Ministry of Silly Walks, maybe you could silly walk. Last 2 or 3 times. Play is so important. And then you can slide your block off to the side. And we're already kind of warmer, I think, yeah? Into Squatlandia. Let's let our feet be baseline kind of a little wider than the shoulders, but you are welcome to sort of play and allow for pivoting. I'm going to take my socks off so you can see my feet a little better. My mat here is like suede, so it slides well. And if your floor surface has friction, you might just need to be a little more aware. Let's pivot to one side, lift your back heel and just come down kind of the center. Just meaning the center as your weight is centered rather than needing to look like it's in the center. And imagine you have a little bushy tail, like a bunny rabbit. Come on up, pivot a few times, let it be easy. And then go to the other side. And come down, weight centered, bushy tail. You can put a little bit of a bounce to check that out. Now, how far you come down? Could be 2 degrees, could be deeper than me. Let's come on up and go to the other side and see how far do you dial? That's a choice. Just take a notice, and next time we'll do a conscious different amount of that. Change and come down, bushy tail, centered weight. And change. Let's go a little bit less of a distance. So a little bit less. Keeping the spine up. It's not perfectly straight up, but I'm not collapsing down. Less of a distance. Let's go a little more of a dialing than that first time. Maybe don't go as far down. Breathing, notice that, a little more of a distance. One more time, each side, whatever you like. I really like in the less of a distance today. When you finish both sides, just swivel in underneath you. Let's take a same distance step more forward and come down like we're turning towards that front knee, little bushy tail. Some of us have done this before. And then we're going to stand on the front leg and bring that back leg towards the front leg. And then we're going to step back to come down. And then come back to come up. So different ways in and out. Same thing, we'll step forward and down the drain. Forward and up the spiral staircase. And back and down the drain. And back. What do you have to do to make it a graceful shift? One more time. Forward, down the drain, keeping the weight centered, even if it's not very far down the drain. Wonderful. Come forward to stand. And step back to go down, little bushy tail. Feel free to challenge yourself and go way down if you want. Come up. How do you gracefully shift your weight back? Other side. Feel free to shake anytime, like an Etch-a-Sketch, clearing the path. Other foot. Forward, the back heel comes up so that you have the bushy tail. Forward to come up. And what if there were like 1,000 asanas here, if you're a yoga person? 1,000 asanas, find them all. Back. And forward. Your feet could always stay in contact with the floor, but just shift the weight and the support, or you could lift it up like a step. Those are options for variation. Back to come down. Nice. and back to come up. One more. And you can choose how much of the rotation, how low you go, how slow you go, where your eyes are. The suggestion would keep the eyes somewhere above the floor. Let's go to the first side. And also, I'm changing the direction like I am because of the camera, but you can still face the same way, right? So let's add on to that. Step forward to come down the drain, same as before. And then let's step up like we're going to take a big stair. Step above, turn towards that leg. Step back to go down the drain. And step back to come up, or shift back rather. And maybe we take a giant step up. Options. Two more like that. Step forward. Can it be smooth, where you can sense all of you all the time? Step forward. Maybe it's just turning towards a bent knee. Maybe it's lifting up. And step back. Weight centered through both feet. And shift. Maybe lift up. Last time, let your arms be free to help you. I don't want to talk you through what that is, but let them kind of find and caress the space in ways that help you feel balanced. And just observe what those are. So it's not from the mind telling them, but they're figuring it out, and it might be different every time. Other side. I'll show not going down very far. Feel free to go down all the way if you want. Step forward, weight centered, bushy tail. Step up, maybe lift that leg, maybe not. Turn towards. Step back. How far down is up to you. Shift back. All the weight onto the standing leg, whether or not your leg lifts. Two more. Mindful. Arms free to help, observing. And bushy tail for all the chairs in the world. And all the ways in and out. One more. Breathing. Back. Take a moment, shake it off, catch your breath if you need to. Little idea to keep with you. We all know box lifting technique. You want to use your legs. Easier on your body to be in this asymmetrical place. So if you're going down to the ground for something, this is a good place to revisit rather than in the center. We are going to be in the center for a moment for a few spinal waves. How deep you squat, up to you. We want to try to feel the back of the legs working more than the fronts. And we're going to play with this. So as usual, you get to explore. And even while we're in the center, you can have a little bit of shifting your weight. Let's push into the feet. Feel that travel up your heart and your eyes. And then bend your knees, hinge at your hips, hands on the legs to wave your spine down. And then start to push into your feet like you're puffing up your pelvis, your sacrum, your low back, your mid back, your upper back, your neck, up to your eyes. Two more, just slow wave down and roll up. And we're just going to look for articulations so that we don't move in blocks. The more articulations, the more variety. Let's add some play that we turn a little bit towards one leg. And then roll up. And maybe you want to stay on that leg or turn to the other leg. So my feet adjust to let that happen. Kind of like we're putting our glass squat on top of this. One more like that. What's the angle that you turn? What's the depth that you drop? Sometimes I actually get more in my spine if I don't go as far down. Let's add turning from the pelvis and facing the heart forward. So instead of our chest being more level to the floor, we're going to kind of tilt it. So I'm on a diagonal. I'm going to actually stay here. You guys can keep moving. This is like so juicy for me. But I want us to start to think of, we can turn the legs and we can turn the facing of the torso. Change sides if you stayed with me. And instead of facing the ground, I'm going to face you. And let's just have 5 more moments to see which different facings, because we're a volume, feel like we're getting into some places that haven't individually articulated before or in a while. If you haven't moved like this very often or ever, it might feel a little bit foreign. And if it feels strange in a way that's not quite your favorite, it is creating the optimal chemistry in your brain to grow more brain hardware. So maybe that'll inspire you to play for 30 more breaths. The wave might even kind of change directions while in your spine. And then come on up. Let's just take a simple swirl side to side, nice and easy. Knees are soft, arms are heavy, eyes look over your shoulder. Hands give a little tap, tap. Take your breath. Okay, slow that down. This idea of wiggling the key in the lock is for our body as a structure and the nervous system too. If you imagine water going down a mountain and following one pathway, it carves it deeper and deeper, and that's efficiency. And if we like that and we need that and we want it for a certain reason, wonderful. But it also makes other options less possible. And what we're doing with all these like little wiggles and jiggles is to try to open that bandwidth of potential. So let's find something that might be kind of familiar for us and see if we can play that way. Take your feet at least outer shoulder width, maybe even wider, and pivot your feet to one side. Doesn't matter which. And let's bend the front knee, and you can come to your hand, you can come to your elbow, and we're going to sweep our other arm over so we're in a side bend or side angle pose if you're in yoga. And see how you can move inside of this. So one simple thing could be maybe I bend my back leg. I'm still in the squat land. What does that do for the stretch? Another is I could turn my torso, my facing. I could turn my eyes. If I move a lot and I might need to shift my hands, it might turn into something completely different, which is fine. I might swing my arm. Give my arm a little break, come into the squat landia. Take your time. Maybe I just want to open up my shoulder. Maybe my legs are fine and I just want to free my shoulder. Oh, maybe I find some really interesting angle that no one would ever teach me because they're not inside of me. See if you can go with that curious play and the sense of observing that when one thing changes, everything will change, whether it's big and visible or not. Remembering our dialing of our arm. Think of that as dialing in your arm and your leg. 2 more breaths. Notice if you keep going into the same thing. And then how we come out. Maybe it could be a little different than normal. Great. Other side. So we just think of it from the basics. We pivot, we bend, we support somewhere. Maybe your arm comes in a different way. I've tried a lot of ways. It's hard to find a different one. So we have our basic side angle, and we have the rotation of the torso. We have the freedom of our arm. We have the shifting of the weight. And we have our own unique body patterns to let the playing help us recognize. Some of us so well trained in things we need, and we like those ruts, and we also want to really be aware of them, like the ruts of chairs, not helping humanity so much. Are you breathing? The rut of holding your breath, not helping either. And then just being able to be aware of when those are, or when you keep finding the same thing, making sure it's a conscious good choice. A couple more breaths. Oh, one side is always different, right? It's always so fun to start with something and you end up somewhere completely different. Yeah. And whenever you're ready, coming out in a different way. Oh, I love what I'm seeing. Let's take it that one more time, since that was kind of like, oh, now we're getting into the juice. Maybe not as long. So one more time, something to the pivot with a bend and support and play. What if you could get all the angles of your body? The side, the back, the outer hip, the hamstring. If you're not finding them, don't stress about it. Just 5 more breaths. Where can you find your sweet spot? And we're not moving in any end range. So everything, as long as you're feeling and moving slow enough, everything is totally fair game and safe. See if you can find one shape, one frequency, one little spot that's like, oh, this is the one for today. A breath there, and then come on up. To the other side. That was a different way in. Finally found one. So it's like not even the side angle pose anymore sometimes. Total permission. Feeling the whole, feeling your breath. And if you find a good, really interesting place, gonna add an extra breath there. What's happening out through your eyes, through your head, last 2 or 3 breaths. And then let's go down to the ground from here. Different way. Awesome. Come to all fours. Notice how you're feeling, what's warm, what's moving. And we've probably all experienced something like this, but let's just give a little bit of freedom to our spine again. I think we did, but when we were doing our waves, we might have found some interesting places, and we are changing our relationship to gravity. So we have flexion and extension, cat-cow. We have wagging the tail. We have a side bend. We have bending an arm, kind of a rotation. We have all of the above as circles. Thinking of circling through the ribs, or maybe it's through the head, or maybe it's through the tail, or maybe it's like a river. Or maybe, I didn't grow up going to that many water parks, but I always think of a water slide and the ones that are like a tube. And the water, how it kind of banks up the side, but if it could go all the way up to the top, might even dive. And just a few moments to check along your spine and imagine all of those vertebrae all articulate and they all can move a little bit in relationship to their upstairs and downstairs neighbor, the other vertebrae. And notice where the most movement is and where the least movement is for you. And try to just get a little more movement where there's less. It's not a forcing thing, it's an invitation. And the last few moments, imagine your spine goes beyond your body, out your tail, out your head. So you're reaching a little bit while you're finding those last couple of moments. And then take a little rest, whether it's child's pose or kneeling or even just sitting cross-legged. And let your gaze drop, or maybe your eyes close. And see if you can feel almost a resonance. Like we're in a moment of stillness, but not stasis. There's a resonance to all of that movement. And then let's find ourselves seated with our fabric. So if you jumped in right after we began, I have a sarong. You could have a towel or a light scarf or a stretchy band. I actually do this often with my stretchy band, but I thought fabric might be more available. So I'm in a half straddle and I just kind of get here. I don't try to move my legs, my hands. If this is challenging to sit up and we feel like we're falling back, you can make it a little more narrow or a little more wide. Test that out. Sit on something or put something under your thigh or knee. So either calf side or thigh side. I'm actually surprised. This block feels far more comfortable than I thought it would be with its edges. And we have our fabric close by. And let's just take a little bit of a lean forward and back. And a little different angle. Now, how far you lean, up to you. It could be just in your brain. You're like, I'm trying to lean. It could be touch the floor. And see if it can start from the lowest place and have a little bit of a ripple. So instead of our spine being one whole thing, we just worked that articulation. See if you can start from as low as possible for you and have a little bit of a ripple. Different angles. Oh, we have some assistance today, huh? So even below your seat, even below your contact with the ground, below your body, rather. Cool. Let's try the other side. We're going to add the fabric to this second. Different. You might find one angle where you're finding more movement. That's what your body needs, and you could stay there, or you could explore. A little bit different each time. You could find one little spot and want to breathe and let your breath be the movement. Jaw relaxed. And then come on up and let's go to the first side again and take your fabric. So we want to make a little bit of a hammock for our head. I'm not going to really like fold this in any certain way, but depending on what you've got, you want to be able to kind of wrap the back of your skull so it doesn't feel like this is going to move around too much. That's one benefit of fabric over a stretchy band, but a stretchy band works, but you want to try to have it like wide. So It's nice and long for me. And before we move forward or back, let your head sort of drop back a little bit, not all the way back looking up, but kind of straight into the fabric. So there's a nice tension that you can hold with hopefully some ease. Relax your jaw or throat and just turn your head a little bit side to side. So my arms are working, but they're trying not to work too much. There's degrees here. And what we're working with is the epidemic of the head stuck forward, looking down at things. Computers, phones, kids, cooking, writing, all these things that are part of the upper body of sitting and looking down at something. If your arms get tired, you just get to give them a break because we're going to play with some stuff up here. Then you can come back whenever you need to. So we could think of our head kind of falling heavy, and then we could give it a little bit of resistance. So we were just supporting and kind of letting it find the pathway. Now I'm going to give it a little resistance, not too much. Gentle with your neck. And see if you have any spots that feel like, whoa, I haven't really been here, or, oh, that feels like kind of icky, sticky. Add a couple breaths as if you could breathe in your chest and under your armpit. We're going to avoid lifting the shoulders. I can feel my arms getting tired, so maybe just like 2 more moments. So I'll give our arms a break. We're going to do another thing. Take a moment to feel. So we're going to add this position of the fabric as we lean forward, because what can tend to happen, actually, let's switch legs just to not get too tired out. What can tend to happen whenever we go forward, not only here, but anywhere we go forward, the head kind of like falls off. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can lean forward, less distance probably for some of us, while we keep a little bit of the resistance of our head in the fabric. Let's try that. So the head is still going to be in the same relationship to the neck, not straining, but as I lean a little bit, place changes with gravity. I'm pressing my head back. It's probably 30 to 40% of how hard I could press my head back. You could even try 20%. And some interesting things turn on, like the core. Oh, wow. See, 2 more. Maybe it's very small. You can also change the angle. See if you can still be a little bit of a ripple, so we're not just becoming a stick in a block. Jaw relaxed. Let's relax the arms, change the legs. How's it feeling? Thumbs up, thumbs down, fingers up. Good. Fingers middle. I don't know. Fingers down, not so good. Okay, I'm going to trust. I saw one. We also have like, well, how close are my hands? How long are my hands? Where does it feel comfortable for me each time? Let's try. And I find for me, I have a lot of things to work on in this area. So when I care a lot and I think a lot, I tend to grip in my jaw, my teeth, my shoulders. So it's a really subtle practice to stay easy within the reaching, within a little bit of the action, right? Shoulders are easy. 1 or 2 more. Take a moment. Notice what you feel. Let's do 1 more with our head, with your choice to just come cross-legged or switch again. So one thing with the fabric is it can kind of go any direction, right? And another place that tends to fall, our head falls off, is if we side bend, our head like falls off. So we could support it through the back the same way with a little bit of an angle. We could also support it on the top. So we could practice looking like a nun for Halloween. But if we just reach up through the head in whatever direction we go, it doesn't have to stay flat. It can still turn. And it gives us that sense of integration, of the elongation of the upper back and the neck. So you can try one or both, top of the head or behind the head, but also kind of scooping from underneath. A little bit more support, a little less work sometimes. You have two directions. It's not going to go as far as you would otherwise. You might, let me not say that you can stop yourself. If you have one leg out, try the other leg. If you're sitting cross-legged, try maybe a little different situation. So maybe I'm leaning forward and looking up. Excuse me, rather than straight to the side. See if as your head goes up, that your shoulders can drop. Keeping that balance of ease, but action last couple breaths. Playing with the angles besides just forward. And then let's extend our legs and just kind of find the center point. We're going to go one more time on the back. And our goal is to keep our throat open, but drop the sternum. Come back maybe just a little bit till you feel your belly. And then bend your knees to come up. Inhale. Exhale, drop your sternum, stretch your legs. Shoulders relaxed, head heavy. See if you can feel your abs, your core a little sooner than you think, maybe. One more, and then we're going to get a dessert. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Thank you, fabric. A moment sitting however you are comfortable. And just feel around the neck space, and let's have the memory of the fabric stay with us maybe all day. And find your hands, and let's flex the fingers, wave them forward, and then grab the air. And push them forward, wave, and grab the air. Now that you got it, you can do it a little faster if you want, like we did with our spine. See if we can find the wave. They don't articulate. I mean, they articulate a lot, obviously, our hands, but they're a little flat, so it's not as wavy. And then just your thumb. The arms want to help. See if you can get that just in the thumb. And just in the index finger. Stretch it. And just in the middle finger. And then the ring finger is humbling. So humbling. And the pinky finger. And then we're going to go backwards. The pinky finger, dive up. Dive up. And then the ring finger, dive up. Isn't that one so funny? And then the middle finger. And then the index finger. Ooh, freedom. And the thumb still breathing, shoulders relaxed. And then the whole hand, dive up, dive up. And then wiggle your fingers in any way that they feel like they haven't been recently or don't go. It's almost like you're playing with a world of cotton candy. And just breathe. It's variety. Anybody who works with their hands or keyboards, just getting that variety in there. Shake it off. And then instead of working each toe that way, we're going to give ourselves just a little foot massage before we rest. Because our feet tend to be, maybe not us, but stuck in shoes and walking on flat concrete, and they want to also have little jiggles and wiggles in all of the bones in the feet. So find a way that one foot is available. We could do cross-legged, we could do half straddle. You could even do it like this, laying down. If you're sitting up, it's a little easier to use gravity and just start to lean and press with maybe your thumbs, maybe a knuckle, maybe the heel of your hand, maybe a forearm, an elbow. Just take a moment to feel how you could be comfortable in your body, aware of your breath, and also of the touch that is giving and the touch that is receiving. Great. So let's find the ankle. And we're going to take our hands and kind of wring out like gentle garag around the ankle. And the outer ankle, the bone that we feel there, that's the fibula, that is the side of the calf bone. And the inner ankle is the bottom of the tibia. So they're actually two different bones. And they are articulating with the ankle bone that's inside. So we actually have tiny little bits of wiggle inside the ankle. And then we can go down lower. So one hand's on the ankle, one hand's on the top of the arch. And we have all these little cubish looking bones around there. And they like to get some little bit of movement. So think about moving all those little bones. And then both hands more on top of the arch. And we have lots of articulations in the tarsals, the metatarsals there. Think about moving each of them. And then kind of wring off the toes. And we're going to do something I call the toe dance. We take one toe, the big toe and the next toe, and we go like a scissor, pull one forward, one back. How far is up to you? Go the other way, scissor the other way, scissor, and then go down to the base knuckle, give a little wiggle jiggle, and pull off. Most can't see. Second and third toe, scissor, 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 down to the base knuckle, a little wiggle, and toe pull off. Third and fourth toe, scissor like a stretch. Scissor. If you ever played piano and your piano teacher did this to your hand, it's that kind of thing. Wiggle, pull off. Fourth and fifth toe, scissor, 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 wiggle, pull. Opposite hand, interlace your fingers with your toes. Yeah. If you are in shoes a lot, this is going to feel life-changing potentially. And then just kind of move it around. So my fingers aren't actually moving, but I'm moving the ball of my foot. I'm moving the bones. And I'm thinking about kind of wavy rotation. And I'm feeling my breath. I'm thinking about all those bones getting a little bit of unstickiness. And then give a little round of applause. And just feel the difference of your feet. And then we'll go to the other side. First, just saying hello. A little leaning, breathing. And you might feel in the foot that we already did that waking up the articulations creates a sense of feeling open. And the openness is like a readiness, right? A readiness for whatever that foot might encounter. And that's what we want in this variety as resilience. Let's give our ankle some ringing. If you like to imagine the bones in there. Just getting it, they're not moving a lot, but we don't want them to be locked together either, right? And then the ankle and the arch, and the navicular and the cuboids, how the ankle translates into the foot, and then the arch, Oh, this foot feels so much stiffer than my other foot. And then off the toes. And then our toe dance. Big toe, second toe. Scissor, scissor, scissor. Knuckle, wiggle, pull. Second and third. Scissor, 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 wiggle, pull. Third and fourth. Scissor, 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 wiggle, pull. Fourth and fifth. Scissor, 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 wiggle, pull. Opposite hand to interlace. Yeah, my foot feels different. It's harder to get those fingers in. It's very interesting. And then think of each toe as having like a stream or a tube or a hose that comes up to it through the bones. And we're just trying to free them from each other a little bit. Move it around as you breathe and feel some gratitude for your amazing feet. And then give it a round of applause. Take a little moment to rest. Some of us might feel like, oh, meditation is nice, or we've been sitting a while and I want to lay down in a fetal position. You can use my block as a pillow. Or you can lie on your back. You can also lie on your belly. Letting the mind go is also part of how the patterns are accepted by our nervous system. So whatever you choose, know that the world will wait as you just rest with yourself a few moments. Stay relaxed and have a felt sense of the whole body. And you're welcome to stay at rest longer. One of the blessings of being in your own home. Or whenever you do come back, let it be gradual and maybe in the curious way of, well, what's the normal way? Can I do it a little differently? Is there a different pathway? Maybe more in relationship to things around me, maybe make it interesting. Not that we're here to make things interesting. That's a side benefit. but to have options. More options gives more freedom. Welcome back, those of us who are back. Enjoy the rest if you are still there. Thanks for playing. Next week, we're going to play with getting up and down off the floor. Or changing levels. It doesn't have to be all the way down to the floor. So thank you all. And we're going to stay if you have any questions.